You ready?
Stars and stripes in the sky, blue and red lines standing high. But beneath the freedom's call lies the story of a song, a conversation with the Mutts, just a whisper in our thoughts, talking about the dreams we chase in this vast American space. The roads we walk, they're cracked and dry, still we look up at the sky with hope that never dies and tears that fill our eyes. Thunderstorms and desert plains, echoes of our joys and pains. From the heartland to the coast, it's the simple things we toast. A conversation with the Mutts, just a whisper in our thoughts, talking about the dreams we chase in this vast American space. The roads we walk, they're cracked and dry, still we look up at the sky with hope that never dies and tears that fill our eyes. They're fast American space.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another conversation with the Mutts. I'm your host, the Celtic Mutt,
And I am Mrs. Mutt.
and tonight we are going to be discussing the top 10 most dangerous roads in America. We thought it fitting, being that we just came out of Easter, Memorial Day is just around the corner, and the 4th of July, and all the summer travel that goes along with that is not that far away, believe it or not. So we are going to be discussing the top 10 most dangerous roads. We're also going to cover a bit of why some of them are so dangerous. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. So being that I've got evens and Mrs. Mutt has odds, I guess that means I start. Wasn't planning on that, but it's all good. You got to be prepared for anything when you're doing a show like this.
And it's fitting I got odds. I am on. But I can admit it.
US 41, which would, if we were going from 1 to 10, would round out the list of most dangerous roads.
Number 10.
At number 10, that is correct. US 41 in 2019 had 141 fatalities, which works out to 7.02 per 100 miles. US 41 is a major north-south highway in the United States, which stretches about 2,000 miles through 10 states. Those 10 states include Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, U.S. Highway 41 also is part of Highway 997 out of Tampa, Florida, which contributes to the largest portion of the accidents on the interstate, which runs between Tampa and Miami, had 76.2 collisions per 1,000 vehicles which is known for its challenging driving conditions and proximity to the I'm going to massacre this, but bear with me. It's the Tamiami Trail.
Miami.
Okay, which this stretch of road connects Tampa to Miami, as I was saying a moment ago. This highway sees one of the highest collision rates in the United States due to poor visibility and speeding. So that's number 10. So you would have number 9, I believe it is?
Yes, I do, which I find rather fitting because I-80, which is number 9, goes right through the heartland, right through Iowa.
Oh.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about Iowa, do we,
No,
honey?
not at all. Which I had planned on touching on a place in Iowa that I don't know if many people who haven't been on I-80 know about, but unfortunately I did not call to get the information. But just as a side note, they have the world's largest truck stop on I-80 in Walcott, Iowa. It's simply called Iowa 80. But it is the world's largest truck stop, or at least that is how it is billed. Now, I-80 is like I said, number nine. In 2019, it had 209 fatalities, giving us 7.21 fatalities per 100 miles. It is so dangerous because of high speed limits, significant traffic volume, especially with the semis, and challenging weather conditions in certain areas, particularly in Wyoming. It is a major east-west highway spanning 2,900 miles, connecting San Francisco to Teaneck, New Jersey. And it's, like we said, this high speed limits combined with heavy traffic. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Wyoming is what they know as reasonable and prudent speed limits for, shall we say, leisure, not professional. So if you're not driving a semi, it is what's known as reasonable and prudent. That doesn't mean you can't be pulled over for speeding, but if unless a officer doesn't think you're safe at the speed you're driving, you're fine. However, if I remember correctly, I know this is from a few years ago, and this is my own memory. The semis and such, their speed limit is 75 miles per hour
Through Wyoming.
Right.
I think it interesting that Wyoming is on a highway that runs through Wyoming, which is one of the least most populated of the 48.
Mm-hmm.
Has one of the highest accident rates.
Well, again, you have to remember that's got some pretty nasty, or as what's that lovely word, gnarly weather. Think about in the winter, this massive amounts of snow it gets, and the ice on the roads.
You can make a valid point, and I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, fudge. Oh, sorry. I wasn't thinking my phone. My laptop is not plugged in, so it is going to go into sleep mode, for lack of a better way to put it, and out periodically.
Okay, so numbers. Are you done?
No, actually.
Okay.
So as
I'm
we
sorry.
said, the challenging weather is a big part of it. They also do have tunnels on I-80. So tunnel accidents are a problem as well.
Well, we know all about tunnel accidents around here, don't we?
We have a few tunnels around here. Some of the worst or most dangerous stretches are at the East Bay of California. Particularly sections between exit 14A and exit 8A, and between exit 15 and exit 17. Also I'm gonna mispronounce this, and I apologize for any of our listeners in or around this area in Utah. Toole County, Tooele County, Utah.
Cool.
And then we already discussed Wyoming. They just lump Wyoming as a whole. And again, that's just because of the weather. Harsh weather conditions, including high winds, are particularly dangerous for truckers as well as the other drivers. And sections in Wyoming are also prone to closures due to blizzard conditions. Would you care to take number 7?
No, but I'll take number
6 or number
8. I'll take number 8. How about that? Highway 70, US 70, is an east-west highway that runs through the United States. It runs for 2,381 miles, or for those of you who do things in kilometers, I don't know why, but for those of you who do, maybe
they're visiting from overseas
or Canada, that would be 3,832 kilometers. From eastern North Carolina to east central Arizona. Part of what makes I-70 so dangerous is the fact that you are driving through the Colorado Rockies. That doesn't make sense because
I don't get necessarily. They're just
yeah
calling that the Colorado Rockies. It would be Rockies maybe, but not.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the Rockies. It might be part of the Rockies, but
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
part of the Rockies, but not the Colorado area.
Right, with the steep grades and high snow and ice amounts in the winter. This road is also dangerous because there's 4, 6, and 8 lane stretches that run through migration routes of things like deer and elk. Another thing that makes it dangerous is the fact that it goes through part of the District of Columbia, where traffic can be particularly heavy.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta go there.
Okay.
It goes through Arizona and DC.
Yep.
So plenty of jackass crossings.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
I'm sorry, for those of you who don't know, there are signs in Arizona, and I swear to God this is true because I about lost it the first time I saw one. There are signs for wild donkey crossings in Arizona.
Okay, actually, I had the full list that 70 runs through, and I did not read through it because I didn't scroll up far enough, so let me correct that. 70 runs through the following states: Utah, Colorado, Kansas, so it does run through the Rockies apparently, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland.
You didn't say Arizona. You did not say Arizona.
I said it
later, not
later,
list.
Right?
Okay.
But I had already said it, so that's why I left it out. So that is why this beloved little road is so dangerous. And we are now on number
7.
Okay.
Number 7.
Yep.
Well, before I do that, I had thought it was interesting that most of these, looking at this list of 10, only 4 of these are east-west. 6 of these are all north-south. But moving on to number 7 is I-40, which in 2019 had 253 fatalities, which takes us to 9.89 per 100 miles. It is so dangerous based on high traffic volume, excessive speeding, and the presence of hills and windy roads. Now, folks, when this talks about hills, the highest elevation on I-40 is 7,330 feet, or since you went with metric, 2,234 meters. When you and I drove out, we actually went through the highest point in New Mexico, which isn't much shorter. That was 7,275 feet, or 2,217 meters, at Campbell Pass in western New Mexico.
Campbell Pass.
Yes, which is part of the Continental Divide between Gallup and Grants. This actually, where did that go? I-40 actually goes through 8 different states. It runs through California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina. It stretches approximately 2,556 miles from Barstow, California, all the way out here to Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wow.
So that pretty much sums up I-40.
And that was number...
That was number
7?
Yes, number 7.
So number 6 is I-15. And it's actually one of the shorter ones on the list, to be honest, as far as information that I was able to find. I-15 begins near the Mexican border in San Diego County and stretches north to Alberta, Canada, passing through the states of California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, and Montana. The interstate serves the cities of San Diego, San Bernardino, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, and Idaho Falls and Great Falls. In 2019, which is the earliest I could find as far as statistics are concerned, it had 158 fatalities, which works out to 11.02 per 100 miles. That is literally all of the information that I was able to find on I-15. If anyone who has ever traveled it wants to share some of their experiences, please feel free to drop a comment down in the comments, and we will happily do an addendum, I believe that's the correct word.
I think so.
To this story, sharing the information that you share with us.
Hello, Steel and Tree.
So
that's everything you've got on.
That's all I had for number 6. You are now
as long as we've got a break it to halfway point. I do have some other information that I thought I'd pop in here before I take on number 5.
Okay.
Counties with the most vehicle-related fatalities. And this is per 100,000 people. Number 10, Harris County, which has Houston, Texas, which is 8.94. Number 9 makes me all the more glad I left. Maricopa County, Phoenix, with 9.84.
Well, that's all those electronic, or those automatic cars that
Waymo.
Yeah, all of those auto drive cars that drive by themselves with nobody in it.
Yeah, I'm sure those don't help.
I've got to tell you, folks, when I went out to visit her almost 3 years ago now, one of the things that really creeped me out was to see these cars driving on the main roads with no driver.
Oh no, you know what part of it is? It's everybody going, it's a tumbleweed.
Maybe it's the haboob.
The haboob.
The haboob. Yes.
Those are the lovely walls of sand from the sandstorm, which I thankfully only ever saw pictures or video of. I never actually
saw a haboob in person.
And let me tell you, this surprised me. I did not think about this. But when you're driving out there and a sandstorm comes up, you are to pull off to the side of the road and stop.
Makes sense to me.
Right. But what surprised me, I did not think about, do not put your hazards on.
There was a glare?
No. The other vehicles will see the hazards and think you are still moving. And therefore, they will continue to move and
plow into you?
Yes. So do not
Makes sense.
Put your hazards on in that situation. Number 8.
No.
Not the roads. The city or the counties, dangerous counties.
Okay.
Dallas County, Dallas, Texas, with 10.9. Pardon, 10.19. Miami-Dade County in Miami, Florida, or with Miami, Florida, with 10.96. Slightly worse is Broward County with Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with 10.97. Number 5, we have Riverside County, Los Angeles, California, with 11.21. Next, we go back over to Florida with Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach, 11.6. Still staying in Florida, Orange County with Orlando, Florida, with 12.45. Number 2, San Bernardino County, back over to Los Angeles, California, with 14.63. Number 1, Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida, with 14.83. So again, those were the counties, the top 10 counties with the most vehicle-related fatalities based on per 100,000 people. So we'll hop back over.
And we are now on number 5, I believe.
Yes, let me scroll up because that was actually within the same article. Forgive me, folks. I gotta scroll my.
And there are some roads that I would have thought made the list that did not make the list.
Oh, I'm sure.
I would have thought 17, for example.
In Phoenix?
No, 17, which runs up the East Coast, pretty much starting here in Virginia and going up into Maryland.
17?
Yeah. Well, you got to think there's the Chesapeake. How many accidents do we hear about on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, for example?
Okay, you and I are getting our 17s.
Hmm?
There's
17.
You're not talking Interstate 17.
No.
Okay,
I'm talking
that's
Route
why
17. I'm saying dangerous roads. I'm not necessarily referring to specifically just
Right, but
highways.
you didn't specify, so
I did say roads. I did not say highways. But anyway. Did you find your information for number 5?
number 5 is I-35, and I'm not going to go into as much depth as we have. I-35 runs through 3 of the most populated cities in the U.S., which are all in Texas: San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin. However, it does run through some other major cities. It also runs through Norman, Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
Des Moines, Iowa,
Des
and
Moines.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. It had 197 fatalities in 2019, giving us 12.56 fatalities per 100 miles.
Mm.
So that's number 5.
Number 4 is I-75. And that comes in, like I said, at number 4 on our list. It runs north-south, starting at the Great Lakes, and ends nearly at the southern tip of Florida. This road is so dangerous in certain parts because of the Midwest sections of the interstate, particularly in Michigan, which are dangerous during the winter months when roads are icy and heavy with snow. Some cities that contribute to this road being so dangerous are Detroit, Michigan, Cincinnati, Ohio, Atlanta. Imagine Atlanta being dangerous. I couldn't imagine.
No, never.
No. And Tampa, Florida. In 2019, again, the only information that the most recent information that I could find, it had 237 fatalities, which works out to 13.27 fatalities per 100 miles. Now, you being in and around the Great Lakes can speak kind of on the heaviness of the snow up there.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that and again, I don't think you've ever been to Michigan, but you have
But I've been on the other side of that lake.
Right. Do the snows get that heavy?
The closer to the lake you get,
Lake
yes,
effect snows.
Lake effect snow.
Yeah.
Even I'm going to mention one of your favorite little cities, not even Madison, being that they have Lake Mendota and Lake. Oh, fudge! I can't believe I forgot the other name of the lake. Forgive me. There's 2 lakes in Madison, and they, even though they're not the Great Lakes, even that causes Madison to get lake effect.
I can imagine. Yeah, I could imagine
So,
it would.
That can be a majorly contributing factor. Add to that, you have cities like Chicago right on the lake with all that traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what it's like here with all the transient factor because of how the military,
how diverse the population is.
Well, Chicago has Great Lakes.
Yeah, the mistake by the lake, as they call it.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's
for those
Erie.
of you who don't know, that is a military
Yeah.
base or area. I don't know if it's just one
It
particular.
was. I don't know if it still is or not, but the Great Lakes was a boot camp for the Navy.
Right, but I don't know if there are other military. I don't want to say installations, but I don't know if other.
Installation is the correct word.
Well, that's not what I'm trying to say. If I don't know if other. We know Navy, but does Army have stuff there?
The other branches of the
yes,
military?
that's what I'm looking for. Are other branches utilizing that area?
Not as specific as the Navy. The Navy, it is a known. The Great Lakes are known for the naval training base, the boot camp there. Yeah,
I didn't realize that growing up, essentially right up the street.
Right.
I did not know that the Navy was located there.
Well, it's because it's a boot camp and those guys don't get to leave. So, except like maybe
you're right there in Chicago. Who's going to go up the street to Wisconsin?
Right. Oh,
unless you're going to go to the Dells, and then you're bypassing right through us.
You said that. I want that noted.
The Dells
said that.
The Dells is a tourist spot.
Right.
You're not going to stop in Beloit or Janesville. There's nothing there compared to going to the Dells.
Got you.
Whereas if you're at Great Lakes, you're much closer to Chicago, and there's a lot more to do there.
Right.
You might go up to Milwaukee. You're not going to go.
So, and these are larger towns or larger cities. So, yeah, that I could imagine that would contribute to the amount of traffic.
It would not surprise me, for example, as far as going to places. They're going to go to like Summerfest in Milwaukee. They're going to go catch a game in Milwaukee or a game in Chicago.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're going to go those directions. So, and plus you have all the regular traffic of everybody there. So that's going to be a major factor.
And we're again talking about 75.
No.
Yes.
It wasn't 75, was it?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Okay.
Wait.
No.
Yeah. We were talking about 75. I-75.
Okay.
Which one? Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I'm more familiar with 90 and 94 in that area.
90 number 3 is what is number 3?
Not I-5, which we go all the way out west. This is, I believe, known as the Pacific Coast Highway.
Yes, I-5 is the Pacific Coast
Highway.
This
is. San Diego County actually ranked number 13 in 2019 for motor vehicle-related fatalities per 100,000 people because of I-5. It goes through Seattle, Washington, Sacramento, California, Los Angeles, California, and San Diego, California. It had 186 fatalities, taking us to 13.47 per 100 miles. So this actually goes all the way from the very bottom of California to the very top of Washington State. So, yeah, this literally runs all the way up the nation along the West Coast.
And that is, again, the Pacific Coast Highway?
I believe so. It's not saying that here, but I believe it does.
If anyone knows and wants to, again, wants to leave a comment.
Yes, it runs, let's see. It is the third most dangerous road in the U.S. It runs 1,381 miles parallel to the Pacific Coast.
Yep.
And it's very popular with the 18-wheelers, making it more dangerous for automobile drivers. If it's not the PCH, I don't know what would be. Considering
it sounds like that's what it is the PCH. And that was number 3.
Yes.
Num-
So off you go with number 2. You're
Number
rolling.
2 is I-20. And despite being one of the shortest interstates on this list, I-20 runs from the southern tip of Florida through some of the heaviest traffic areas in the country, like Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. It starts in West Texas and runs all the way to South Carolina. This road has the 3rd highest death per mile ratio. In 2019, for example, it had 208 fatalities, which works out to 13.52 deaths per 100 miles. Now, having been through Atlanta, having been through Georgia, obviously Atlanta's in Georgia, but what I was trying to say was having also been through parts of Texas, specifically Dallas, I can attest to how heavy the traffic is, and that was running the bus route.
Thank God you weren't driving.
Yeah,
right?
Thank God I wasn't driving. Exactly. And because that to me would have just been just absolutely a white knuckle trip. They don't. I don't think they know what a speed limit is through
There's
Dallas.
a lot of areas that don't seem to know what that is.
I don't think that they know what
They don't seem to know what that is here.
They do more so than they do in some of those areas.
Well,
I'll be honest. It's a little intimidating when you're on a Greyhound bus, and this is not a promotion for that particular company, but when you're on that bus and it's doing 75 and there are cars passing you, that can be kind of scary, to be honest with you. I've been a passenger and white knuckled my seat. I'll put it that way.
Are you trying to steer for the driver when you're all the way in the back?
Yes, I am. Yes,
and
yes.
trying to use your brake pedal.
That is correct. There are a couple of buses that go from here to Arizona that probably still have my footprint in the floorboard, just because I was mashing that imaginary brake.
They've got You tried to put tried to make the floor into a Flintstones.
I sure did. You're doggone right. I was scared. I was scared, ladies and gentlemen. And I ain't scared to admit that I was scared. But yeah, that is I-20. So we're down to the number 1 most dangerous road in America. And let me guess. Let me see if I can guess, because you and I haven't discussed this.
I was just going to say, when we said what this was, or what we were doing this week, you said that you had ideas on the show.
Right. Would it be 95?
Yes, it is. According to NHTSA's data, I-95 is the most dangerous highway in the United States.
Or any derivative thereof.
In 2019, it had the highest number of overall fatalities at 284, bringing the fatalities per 100 miles to 14.88. Many of these accidents occurred in the Northeast in the winter. Surprise, surprise. I'm betting you can attest to that.
Yes, I can. And that's why I said, or any derivative of 95, i.e., the one that comes to mind for me is 495.
Yes.
Yes, through Boston or just outside Boston.
I love how they put that. How they put this. When road conditions were far from ideal.
Far from ideal.
Can we say nightmarish?
Yes, nightmarish is a good is very descriptive and apropos.
But it also says a large portion of accidents also occurred on the east coast of Florida in
Okay.
Jacksonville and Brevard. And forgive me if I pronounce
Broward.
that wrong. No, Brevard. Bevard.
Brevard. Okay.
Which sits outside of Orlando.
Okay. I've never heard of that one.
The major cities for I-95 would be Boston, Massachusetts. Like, I'm curious. I'm now wondering if there are any other Bostons. There probably are.
Yes, there are. There's South Boston here in Virginia.
Oh, well, I'm just talking Boston, not South.
I don't know what that might be. Something we'd have to look up.
New York, Baltimore, Maryland, Jacksonville, Florida, and Miami, Florida.
I've been up and down parts of 95 many, many times, and the most scared I've ever been was on 495, as was already stated. I know I said that I-20, they didn't know what speed limits were. Yeah, they don't know what those are on 495 either.
And DC, oh.
No. Nope.
I have driven Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I have driven Milwaukee. Obviously, I have driven Phoenix, Maricopa County. I do not want to drive DC. Actually, I have driven around there. My ex-boss, it was from Landover, Maryland.
Landover, Maryland, yeah.
So I have driven from here to there and back. Which, speaking of, there is a bridge. Oh my Lord.
The High Bridge?
I don't know what. I think maybe that's what. No, it's called the Nice Bridge, maybe?
But is it the 2-lane bridge that?
I think it's 2-lane and it's like.
Yeah, that's the.
You can't see over the thing.
We affectionately refer to it as the High Bridge. That's the.
You can't see over it and you feel like you're climbing 90 degrees up.
Mm-hmm.
And then 90 degrees down. You just.
Have you done it in a semi?
No, thank God, no.
Yes. My grandfather. For those of you who don't know, my grandfather drove a semi for, God, I want to say close to 35, 40 years. And we took that bridge.
It is called the Nice Bridge. Is it not?
I don't remember what the actual name for it is. I want to say I remember thinking that's just so ironic. Yeah, it's a scary bridge, ladies and gentlemen. It is, and if I'm not mistaken, that may have actually been the one that my father refused to go over. If my mother is listening to this, she can clarify that for me. But
in Newburgh, Maryland.
I believe it's in Maryland.
W. Nice Memorial Bridge.
Okay, I believe that is the one. Yeah, it is a very, very, very scary bridge, and I remember my grandfather taking it like it was nothing. But again, he had some 30-odd years, maybe closer to 40 years of tractor trailer experience, but that was scary for a kid.
This bridge, I mean, honestly, it just looks like you would get to a certain point, especially in a tractor trailer, where with the trailer,
it would just start rocking backwards.
Well, it looks like you would get to a certain point where it almost looks like it comes to a point.
Yep.
So that the tractor or the trailer would just get to a point where it would
separate from
at the top.
It does look that way. You're right. It looks like it would just teeter at that junction where the truck meets the trailer. Yeah, it is scary. I'll not sugarcoat it.
I did not enjoy crossing that particular bridge.
No. I didn't like the Tappan Zee Bridge either. In that goes into Nyack. It's not because it's a high bridge. It's just very heavily trafficked, and the Tappan Zee made me nervous. But again, not because it's a high bridge, because it's not. But it was just very heavily trafficked at the time that I drove across it. I don't believe that's known as the Tappan Zee anymore. I believe they've changed the name of it, but the locals from what I understand, still refer to it as the Tappan Zee. And again,
I'm sorry, but no matter how many times you change the name of something,
the locals will always call it what it was originally named.
I'm sorry, but even like your arenas.
Yes.
And the amphitheater here, they keep periodically selling the naming rights, and yet
it's still the amphitheater.
Yeah,
it will always be just the amphitheater.
Yeah,
it could be this, the Scope Mouthwash Amphitheater, and we're still going to. And again, they do not support the channel. This is not a plug for them. I'm just using it as an example. You went there
because of the downtown Norfolk, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we have an arena in Norfolk known as the Scope. Not again sponsored by the mouthwash. Just I don't know the history of that. I have to look that. We'll have to look that up in some. We'll have to figure out where that name came from. But yeah, I've always thought that was kind of silly that that no matter how many times something gets sold, and the name gets changed, the locals will always refer to it as what it was originally.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes. You have more information? Yeah, I'm sorry. I started to say that concludes, and I was mistaken.
Yes, you
by
were.
all means.
How dare you speak for me?
I apologize. I do apologize.
I had some more information that I thought might come in handy for our listeners, viewers, our audience. My mistake. Hi, Mac. You're not too late. And I'm sorry if I missed you in here a little bit.
No, he's late. He's late.
Yes, he's late, but he didn't completely miss us, was my point.
No.
For those who might be interested, the NSC, National Safety Council, reports that the fatal crashes are more common on weekends, with Saturday being the most dangerous day. The rickiest? Okay, the rickiest, honey. Apparently that's when Ricky Ricardo comes out.
The Bomba. That's the wrong
No,
Ricky.
Yeah, that's the wrong Ricky. The riskiest time of the day depends on the time of the year. In the cooler months, it's between 4 p.m. and they're specific here, folks, 7:59 p.m. During the warmer months, it actually peaks between 8 p.m. and midnight. Non-fatal crashes are generally weekdays, especially Fridays, with the peak times again between 4 p.m. and 7:59. In the summer, the busiest times shift to noon to 3:59 p.m. Those red light runners, according to the Federal Highway Administration, there are an estimated 165,000 motorists, cycles, and pedestrians injured annually by red light runners, resulting in nearly 1,000 fatalities. The shifts in the past in traffic patterns since 2020, these have actually increased the fatalities in recent years, despite fewer cars being on the road at certain times. The factors that come into play are higher speeds, impaired driving, and reduced law enforcement. Now, as far as being that we were talking about holidays and travel season, the most dangerous day to travel in the U.S. is generally considered to be Memorial Day weekend.
I can believe that.
Followed by Independence Day and Labor Day.
All summertime holidays. Imagine that.
Yes. Now, somewhere I had actually seen, and I don't know where that went. I seem to have lost that link. But
if I may, for just a
oh,
minute.
by all means.
One of the things that surprised me was when we went out on Easter, how heavy the traffic was on Easter Sunday. I was very surprised at that.
Well, Easter has, for at least with my family, been a family holiday
That's true.
to some degree. I am seeing a chart here. Now, forgive me, folks. This is at a lawyer's website, the Ryan Law Group's website. This is showing the average fatality rate starting with the 75 to 82 year group, going up to 98 to 2002. These have dropped significantly from those groupings. The 78 to 82 group, you had roughly almost 3.5 average and per 5 year by month. And the rate was per 100 million miles traveled. And here, the 98 to 2002 group is down to roughly 1.75 per 100 million miles. And it looks like December is the worst. Yeah.
Right around Christmas time and New Year's?
Well, it doesn't give me a time in December, but presumably. But it also looks like I'm thinking that September, it could be October, which would just kind of surprise me. Would be high. December, November. Yeah, that looks like, well, that would be, actually September would not necessarily be surprising. That would be the very tail end of summer, right before school starts, more than likely. So both of those are at the high end. Those are but November is not terribly far behind in most of these groupings. What I had seen in one of the sites was that Thanksgiving was a terribly high level.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
This is telling me that apparently,
and we will make sure to do that, Mac. I do see your comment about your dog, and we will.
Oh, by all means. What's the dog's name? Do we know?
We don't know.
We don't know.
At least not yet.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll tell us if we ask him, since we just did.
Yes. This is actually listing some specific dates, such as October 3rd. It says the majority of vehicle fatalities occur during the summer months, and perhaps this late summer day mixes with the shortening of the days and the drive home being a bit less visibility as earlier in the summer, leading to more deadly car accidents.
I can see that.
It says July 5th, which that does not surprise me because everyone's partying on the 4th. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people are out partying on the 4th. Halloween, it lists.
By the way, the dog's name is Poppy.
Poppy?
Poppy.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. 16 years.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be tough. Yeah, it does say Halloween, and of course, it does talk about the fact that with all the kids running around in their costumes with poor visibility
Yep.
over their eyes, plus the dark conditions for the driving, it's not a good mix. New Year's Day.
Now, I would have thought New Year's Eve would have been bad, but New Year's Day?
Well, you figure they're probably going midnight to midnight.
It's possible, yeah.
So, and there's still a lot of drinking on New Year's Day.
Okay.
June 21st, longest day of the year. The sun rises extra early and sets extra late. It's also around this time that people are starting their summer breaks from school or graduating, so more people are on the road. September 5th, it says there really doesn't seem to be any significance to this date. It's definitely in the heart of summer, but other than that, it's just a day that happens to have a lot of fatalities. Same sort of thing with October 11th. Possibly a good reminder that any day could be a dangerous time. November 1st, day after Halloween.
I can see that,
So,
too.
yeah.
No worries, Mac. No worries.
August 2nd. The day appears right in the middle of summer, in the very middle of summer, and the bell curve for fatalities. July 4th.
Yeah, I can see that, too.
Yeah. And this data covers from 2007 to 2016. The days with the least fatalities, the absolute least was on January 2nd.
Because everybody's recovering from New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
Christmas is one of them.
The least?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that, too.
February 26th. February 11th. January 8th. February 9th. January 24th. January 29th. January 5th. And January 7th.
Random.
Yeah.
Very random as to when the...
Apparently, I'm wondering if that doesn't have anything to do with weather patterns.
I don't know.
Just by sheer chance.
I don't know.
That's the only thing I can think of, with the exception of Christmas and the 2nd.
I will say this. For any of you traveling any of these roads that we've listed tonight, and I feel led to say this, please be extra cautious on these particular roads.
Yeah.
As you've heard, the death tolls on those roads are
nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, at all. And I would be remiss if I did not
make sure
request that you all be extremely careful if you're traveling any of these roads.
Well, be careful on any road, but take a little extra precaution on these. Make sure that you're knowing which highways are dangerous and be extra alert when you're on them. Plan your travel so you're not hitting these areas when visibility or road conditions are poor. Try to be aware of things like when there's construction going on.
Which in this area is always.
Yes. Well, we
have 5 seasons here.
Mm-hmm.
We have 5 seasons. We have, your standard 4, spring, summer, winter, fall, and then we have construction season, which is year round.
Well, see, in Wisconsin, we have 3.
Oh, okay.
There's snow removal.
Right.
There's construction.
Right.
And then there's the one day of baseball season.
Oh, okay.
keep in mind, try to be aware of when there was construction and what time of day you might hit it whenever possible.
Yeah.
Know if possible that you're going to hit that construction in the middle of rush hour or in the middle of night.
These are the safety tips by the Mutts.
When you're at risk of falling asleep when you're driving, try to
find
over.
A safe spot and pull over.
A rest area, a fuel stop or gas station, whichever you want to call
Walmart, and I know I hate to say this, but a Walmart parking lot, because they were specifically designed for that particular reason.
Yes.
For tractor trailers. That's why they are so large originally. Because
Iowa 80 in Walcott.
Yep. Iowa 80 in Walcott. Yeah, which has the world's largest, as we've explained, the world's largest.
Well, that is the name of it. Iowa 80 is the world's largest truck stop in Walcott, Iowa.
And here we have Charlie's. Here in Hampton Roads, we do have a Charlie's truck stop. So if you do feel tired, by all means, please be careful.
Oh, yes, Mac, I agree. Safer to stay on the porch.
Definitely. Yep, 100%. This dog don't hunt no more. He stays on the porch.
And definitely always obey traffic and safety laws by all means. And please, for everyone's safety, when you see the flashing lights, move over.
Yep, by all means. Do we have anything else to cover?
I will say no. I think that's really it.
Then I want to share with everyone what we will be discussing next week.
I picked this week. It's yours for next.
We are going to, with the recent release of the JFK files, or at least in part, my conspiratorial brain has gone into hyperdrive, and I think we are going to cover some of the conspiracies and facts that surround the JFK assassination. It was a very large part of our history, especially in '63. Excuse me. And has fascinated people for all this time. And I think with the at least partial release of the information, it would behoove us to at least look into it. So that is what we will be discussing next week on the show. I have been delving into a particular podcast of a radio host that I used to listen to, who now is a member of the Blaze, and have found myself kind of surprised at some of the things that I'm hearing. So please be on the lookout for that next week. Do you have anything that you would like to share?
I will say I'm not horribly knowledgeable at this point. I did, watch JFK, the movie.
Right.
And I am very curious to learn.
Yeah. So that will be next week's show. We want to say thank you for all of you who have joined us tonight. We do look forward to these shows on Wednesday nights. We enjoy spending our time with our regulars, and believe it or not, I do make phone calls to some of the Rewind crew. In fact, I was on the phone with one of them today, about a half hour before the show today, and we were talking about some stuff that had nothing to do with the show specifically, but it did have to do with the channel Mutts, Story Time with the Mutts. If you haven't checked that out, by all means, please do. There are some pretty funny stories in there. I've had quite a few experiences, but we really, really want to express our appreciation to you all who come through every week, like Mac and Steel and Tree, and Deb when she can come through.
At the same time, we do appreciate the new listeners.
100%. 100%. I was getting ready to say that exact same thing. We appreciate our regulars, but we love to see new faces as well. New faces is what keeps us going. So we do appreciate each and every one of you and what you bring to the channel, as well as what we're able to find for you all. I'm going to, as always, tell you to be safe, be good. If you can't be good or safe, just don't name it after me. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. But I am going to give Mrs. Mutt the final word.
Have fun storming the castle.